Hey everyone, I'm Ethan Quant, and welcome back to the Real EQ podcast. Today I'm sitting down with one of the most consistent hit makers in Bahamian music, the multi-talented Bodine Victoria. She's an actress, entertainer, entrepreneur, and all-around cultural force with over 20 years in broadcasting. From her YouTube series, Bodine Pot, to her work on ZNS's Fabulous Living Bahamian Style. Bodine continues to celebrate and elevate Bahamian culture. She's performed on some of the biggest stages around the world, open for regional legends, and her music produced by Grammy Award winner Rick Carey blends tradition with a modern twist. Beyond the spotlight, she's a brand ambassador, an educator, and an advocate for entrepreneurship and community. A true Renaissance woman making her mark. My guest today is none other than Bodine Victoria.
Thank you very much for having me, Ethan.
Bodine, I ain't gonna lie. Like, I always appreciate whenever I call you, like you will come.
Yeah, and you know exactly why. We spoke about this.
Yeah, and so I do appreciate you for taking the time out to come and join us here on the Real EQ podcast. You know, this is a show where I really just want to have conversations with people that I actually like and admire, like in real life. And you are definitely one of them. You know, I enjoy our back and forth on social sometimes. You know, you would send me a message, I'll send you a message. Always insightful, always pleasant. So I do appreciate you.
Thank you. Same, because you match the energy. I realized that maintaining relationships, especially professional relationships, creative relationships, really requires for us to communicate on things that we're aligned with or things that we're curious about, and being able to understand different people's perspectives, why they reach into the bag, why they trust you enough to have this conversation and then to continue to engage you. And you've really been very encouraging. You've provided me some very valuable insight on not only brand development, but also envisioning where the brand should be going, which is pretty much in alignment with what we've been doing over the past 20 plus years.
Yeah.
So grateful. Thanks for having me, you and the team.
Awesome. Now, I like to start every episode of the Real EQ podcast with asking my guests this one question. And the question is, Bodine, how do you define success?
Success is the result of purpose being lived intentionally. So if you take that just as a soundbite that it is, I think it should be self-explanatory. But if I am to expand on that or expound on it, I'd say once you know exactly what your purpose is, that thing that you were created for, that thing that inspires you, that also reaches into the lives of others and it draws out or educates them on what their purpose is, I think you are successful. It is the result of you being your individual self, one that is crafted and that is conditioned by not only the trials of life, but also by the things that you consume, whether that is the food that you eat or the experiences that you have, the experiences you lend yourself to, what you read, and being able to turn that into something that motivates somebody else to be their very best self. For me, that is success.
Hey, and like the young people say, bars. That was wow. I mean, I don't know if I can get somebody pissed off, but I really think that was one of the most concise definitions that I have gotten, and I think it's because obviously you've given thought of what success means to you, and normally, you know, I get people, you know, success means different things to different people, but I love that you said two things very interesting there. You said purpose and intentionality. Why? Well, how? Okay, let me backtrack. So based on that definition, Bodine, would you say that you're successful?
I would say absolutely, and I'm going to continue to build on the success that I've had. My purpose is to create an environment that allows creatives to continue to inspire, aspire, and succeed. So all of the work that I have been doing over the course of my life has lent itself to my purpose. I am an educator. I have over 20 years experience in education, sociology, a little, I don't want to say psychology, but it's sociology and creativity. The work that I do outside of education, music, theater, the arts, it has inspired other young people to not only dive into whatever their creative purpose is, but also to find ways to pursue that while they're holding down a regular 9 to 5. The work that I do as an entrepreneur allows for other brands and businesses to continue to earn money through the influence that I have gained as a result of all of the projects that I have worked with that are also in alignment with my purpose. The work that I do with the Tourism Development Corporation, which allows me to provide opportunities for education for creatives, puts me in a position so that when creatives want to make money, want to invest, they have access to the resources for education, access to the resources for finance, and access to the resources that allow them to maintain their intellectual property rights. And I will continue to affect change in those areas because my purpose is to create an environment where creatives can thrive.
Wow.
Okay.
No, that's, I mean, and, you know, because on the surface, somebody on the outside looking in, they say, boy, you know, Bodine doing a lot.
My sister said that recently too.
Yeah, so people on the inside see it, but like you so eloquently said just now, like everything that you do is really in alignment for one thing, right? It's in alignment with your purpose. So I love that. So like growing up, like when did you decide or discover or realize that like this was your purpose? Like was this something that you always knew, or like when did you really understand that this is my purpose and start being intentional about fulfilling it?
So I would say that when I look at my life retrospectively, there was a point when I didn't know that's what it was. I've always wanted to create. I would not have gone to college to be a teacher if a profession in the creative arts was something that was not only respected, but I could go and do for free because my family did not have it to send me to school to do something artistic. Artistic, why?
Yeah.
You're gonna make no money? You're gonna sing in a resort? They don't make no money like that. So I went into teaching. And then I realized with teaching, I didn't have to put aside my creative side in order to just be a teacher all day. And I don't mean to minimalize what teachers do because it's an immense duty, but they, at the time that I entered teaching, had this perception that teachers should be teachers. And that's all you do. And I defied that. And there were many days when I cried, but I became a teacher that also became a record-breaking recording artist out of the Bahamas singing secular songs while teaching religious studies. Okay? And it was hard, but I did it. That's when I started to realize that the life I live isn't just about myself. It's about being able to teach people to render to Caesar what is Caesar's if we go biblically, and then give to God what is God's. And for me, what I give to God is my talent. And he continues to provide opportunities for me to build on those talents and open doors that allows for more people to be inspired by the consistency and the frequency with which I live in that purpose. And I started to understand that it was not only the students, but it was other persons in other creative spaces that were under the impression that they had to be mired into one specific thing. And so you discover you're not just one thing. Because if they take teaching away from you and you define yourself as a teacher, then what are you? Are you not a human being with other interests? And so from there, it's the students, it's other teachers, it's other creatives. My platform expanded because I consistently worked on music, consistently in culture, tied that into education. And now it works in a way where everything is moving really parallel to one another. And when it's not parallel, then they intersect so well that I'm able to move in so many different places. And people come up to me and they say, thank you so much for what it is that you do, because I know now what I can do. And then I also have seen an influx of people that are asking me, hey, can you look this over? Can you give me some idea? Can you give me some direction? And I'm able to provide them advice based on what they present to me, and I see them thrive. It makes me happy. It brings me joy. I feel the most fulfilled when I'm doing that. And so I would say along the journey, I realized that that's what my purpose is.
Oh, that's crazy, man. I mean, the thing is that I remember when I found out you was a teacher, I didn't even know. I was like, she's a teacher.
Yeah.
Like, she's a teacher for real.
And I don't even like school.
I thought that was so dope. So, I really like what you said as far as, the fact that, and I would say it kind of echoes my own feelings towards the fact that we are multifaceted beings, right? Like, you don't have to just be one thing. But, we grew up in a generation where this is the thing that you are, and you go to do this thing, and that's what you do.
Yeah.
Was there ever a time throughout your journey where you felt as though, I don't want to confuse people, or I don't want to appear that I'm doing too much, or I don't want to be that jack of all trades type scenario? Was there ever a time in your journey that you kind of felt that way, or have somebody kind of project that on you?
My friends at school, they used to say Bodine could build a house. I mean, I can.
I really believe you can.
I
if
surely
you check
can.
your Instagram, I'm pretty sure.
We're building a studio for education, which requires me to use drills, nails, and at BJC I earned in carpentry and joinery, as well as my skills in graphical communications.
Wow.
I have certifications in those, by the way. Little ADHD princess I am. But people tend to project. They think that their limitations are your limitations. And I try to tell people all the time, baby, we build different, okay? Our purpose may only allow you to be used for one thing. Mine, I'm a multi-tool. So what may seem like a lot for you is me working with my eyes closed, because it comes second nature. And it's because I've spent the time to develop each one of those skills at a different time in my life. I am a firm believer that no experience is wasted. God doesn't allow for that to happen. And so there are things that I learned in my teens that I carried over into my 20s that have transported and changed themselves up into something that I've been able to use in my 30s and 40s. And if you want a specific example, a lot of people didn't realize that I was a teacher because I compartmentalized my life so well that they thought I was just a full-time entertainer, because that's all I promoted. And I also did not want the Department of Education to believe that they'd be able to use my skills and my talents for free when I had to develop those as an extracurricular. I also did not want the children to feel like it was okay in a professional sense for them to mix. So when I came into school, I was Miss Johnson, dressed and ready for school. You want to talk what I do outside of that? Then we will get the government work done first, and then move into what I do as an extracurricular afterwards. And that's it's the principle of the matter that I apply to my work in education and my extracurricular work. They are always separated, and I don't allow for them to intersect unintentionally. And that allows for me to have a lot more freedom than a lot of people know. Although the influence from either one of them, I can take into either field.
So how do you, I don't even want to use the word balance, right? Because I don't really believe in balance personally, but how do you make time for all of these without neglecting anyone, or how do you handle if one needs to be neglect? Like, how do you enable that? How do you navigate the world in such a way that you're able to do so many things at such a high level, so consistently? That is my question.
That's been a struggle. And I realized that in the new position I'm in now, it's more of a struggle over the last 18 months. I say that because my creative energy has been placed into a project that requires me to be a project manager, an architect, a creative decorator, as well as function in my space. It's because we're not fully staffed with the people that we need to be able to delegate responsibilities. And those are the people that have the skills, and then those are the people that have the innate ability or the desire to work where the work is necessary. And so being the type A person that I can be when I have to be, I've taken on a lot more of that, to the point where my workout videos, I know you haven't seen any of those because I haven't been working out. I've been taking a nap, okay? Consistently for about a year now. I'd pop in and out of the gym, but my mind just mentally is not there to do that. And so recently I had to say, okay, hold on, time out. We need to reassess what's important. The health is important. The recreation is important. And in addition to that, the time that I spend at work, I also earn lieu days back. So my supervisor said, hey, you have 25 days of vacation. I said, but I took vacation for the year already. In the public service, in the position I'm in, you have 5 weeks of vacation, which is 25 days. So I have already taken vacation for the year, and I still have a year's worth of vacation. And that was the cue to me. You're letting something slip. You are out. You are out of, it's not balance. You're out of rhythm. Everything requires a rhythm. And so you can move in 4/4 time, you can move in half time, and all of those things can move all at the same time. But if you are not aware of the cue of when 4/4 time starts, when half time starts, when full time starts, what ends up happening is instruments are not going to sound the way that they should sound. It's not going to be harmonious. It's not going to be rhythmic. Something's out of balance. And so I do things well. I have gone back to planning. Yes, my book is filled with stickers and markers and dates. I have gone back and I have reassessed what's important, what is in alignment with where I would like to go and what I'd like to accomplish. And then I have reassessed what needs to be prioritized. Because if you do not pause to assess, whether that is every month, someone like me, I have to do it at the very least every 2 weeks. What will happen is I will just go on what I think is priority as opposed to what is actual priority. And so that rhythm requires me to put a full stop and rest a few bars in that song just for a couple of minutes or a few seconds, just so that I can maintain my focus.
That's interesting. And honestly, I think that speaks to the intentionality component of,
Absolutely.
of the purpose alignment as well. Now, you've been in the entertainment, creative, cultural space well over 2 decades as your intro that my amazing team put together said. The question is, how has, well, 2-part. First part, how have you evolved over the last 2 decades? And how has the industry, the creative, cultural, entertainment space changed here in the Bahamas over the last 2 decades?
Okay, good questions. How have I changed? There was a time when it was necessary for me to chase opportunities. That means that I was constantly creating to feed the needs and the demands of the market. I set the demand of the market now for me. I say that because I don't have an interest in chasing down every event that requires somebody to sing. I am at a point where I would like, and I can, and I have, put my own shows together where I am in complete artistic control of the outcome, and I've engaged sponsors and collaborators who trust me, the brand that I've developed, and how thorough I am with organizing events and things, as well as relaying their brand story through my art to their target markets, their target audiences. And I have been able to create a stage that is specifically for me, but also one that allows for me to curate which creators I'd like to work along with me for each specific project. So I don't have the need to chase. Nobody could tell me I ain't hot. Nobody could tell me I ain't pop it. I'm just not for your audience. So I have mine, and it's okay. So that's how I've changed. I am consistent, but my frequency isn't as fast as some of the other creators' frequencies. And that's by design. I create with intention. I still have clients that are asking me to license my music for campaigns, local campaigns. And these are songs I dropped 5, 6, sometimes 10 years ago that they want to refresh to use for their campaigns. And it's because of my intentionality and the alignment with my purpose and the vision that I have for the art I create. So I don't create for people unless I'd like to. I create for my audience. I create for me. I create for the purpose. And it aligns with the people that I know it will align with. How has the market changed? How has music changed? I am grateful that over the years I have seen the prevalence of hip hop. I've seen the prevalence of the reggae market. I've seen Bahamians create fusion music that is able to move between both of those genres. I've seen the resurgence and reemergence of Bahamian rake and scrape. I've seen more artists, young artists creating their own visual arts as well as their performing arts and being able to put on their own shows and develop their own followers and brand themselves as opposed to having to go through a record label, because I've been through all of those stages. I am grateful to see the rise of the independent artist. I am grateful to see the rise in the artist that is unashamed of what they are, who they are, and what they'd like to create. And their intelligence with developing their brand, their aesthetic, as well as their interactions with their followers, their market. I have seen more people with their art be concerned about the longevity in the business as opposed to just getting a quick buck. We still see the people that just want to collect, on a wholesale basis as opposed to a retail basis. Whatever works for your business, you do that. And I'm happy because there is space for everyone. There is a market for everyone. What I would like to see is more artists treating themselves like businesses. I would love to see them develop their business plans and go in and consult with branding companies and be able to consistently build on that, see what works, what doesn't, and then adjust consistently. So that's how music has changed. We are no longer in the space where soca is the most prevalent thing, as we had been from 2015 to, I want to say, 2020, right before the pandemic. Right now, we are back in the renaissance of Reagan Street, John Canoe, and Gumbe, and hopefully Rhyme Spirituals makes a resurgence if we talk about culturally.
Right.
But I'm hoping that with the emergence of artificial intelligence in music, the personal connections and the drive for Bahamians to create music continues to be what is prevalent and paramount in the development of that economy, and that we do not completely put aside the value of human interaction and human creation for something that AI creates from a prompt, because there are so many different people that are affected negatively by that, right, as we can see internationally. I think that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said a couple of things, but something that stood out, and I think it's something that, because for so many years I didn't consider myself a creative. I actually didn't consider myself a creative. And because, the word creative to me put an image of the starving artist in my head.
Yeah.
Or I'm all about the art, I always very much so led with business.
Yeah.
Right. And so even though my media company, we operate in a creative space, I've carved out a niche specializing in corporate content, which is a type of content that a lot of creatives actually struggle with because of the parameters and the brand guidelines and all this stuff. So, so it's interesting that you as a creative recognize that, you said that, you hope more people in the industry would pay more attention to the business side.
Yeah.
Right? Let's talk about that for a bit, because I also think that not just in the creative industry, but I think just in business and all, just because you could bake a good cake doesn't mean you should open up a bakery. Being good in the field and what you do does not automatically translate into business. And so somebody who may be watching this, like, what are some things that as a creative, because you've been able to excel consistently in this space, and what are some things that I need to be doing now as a creative to get my business in order?
So I'll take you, for example. When you realized that there was a need to not only niche down, but also define what your business offers, who your business offers it to, and then figure out which resources you need, that is when I know everything clicked for you. And you saw that intentional move, and I use the word intentional all through this because it was very intentional and you communicated that clearly. A lot of creatives still don't have an idea of who their audience is, right? An audience as in who they create for, but also audience as in who they would like to create for.
Hold on, wait. Because I don't want that to go over some people's heads. So let's go.
It was a bar.
Yeah, no, the bar.
It was a bar.
So break that down a little bit.
Okay, so you have audience, and then you have client.
Right.
Okay, who you create for audience, and then who you create for client. When we create, if our intent is for us to market to the audience that people are going to consume, those consumers, which is our audience, and then the person we create for, which would be, let's say, a client, then you have to know specifically what your client needs, how you align with what that client needs, and then whether or not that client and your audience either connects, or whether or not you're able to bring more clients into your audience that will connect with your main client. So I say that because I'll never forget, I was putting out a new project. It had maybe like 3 songs, right? And I said to Reality, I said, Real, I want to write an album. And so Real asked me the question, who it for? And I say, for my haters. And he was like, okay, but who is it for? What you mean I can go write it for my haters? He said, that's who it's addressed to. But who is it for? And it took me a whole year to realize what he was saying in that conversation, because he was like, you know what, you smart. It can click eventually. And I couldn't write it because I didn't have enough content about my I didn't care about my haters enough to write a whole project about my haters.
Right.
And then I was like, oh, he was talking about who I want to reach. And then who was going to use it to reach who else I want to reach. So after I understood that, my whole business model for my creative juices, it changed. I said, okay, we're not only for the love of the culture, but I said I'm going to integrate Bahamian Junkanoo with the soca music, because I need the soca music to hit the international audience. And then I need the other music, the Bahamian music, to just let people know that I am a Bahamian artist.
Right.
But I don't do traditional Bahamian music. I do fusion music, but I can sing it. I could strip all the soca elements away and sing it in rake and scrape. I could sing it in Junkanoo and it'll work. And guess what? It worked. And then I was like, okay, so the content of my music, I needed to, still pay homage to people from yesteryear. But what I needed to do is I needed to communicate messages. So what do I want people to associate me with? Hope, empowerment, being a woman for the most part. but still humor, and at the same time delivering very important messages through the music. And guess what? It worked. So when I host, I tell a little jokey joke. Sometimes I, give some of my song lyrics in the middle of whatever it is that I'm doing. I engage people. People are always telling me that they use my music to get through really hard times. They exercise with it. When I did full performance, that was a little ride. But I'll tell you this, when people got to do Zumba or if they have to do aerobics, they put that on and they beat full performance down bad because it just gives them that amount of energy. So my brand is energetic. My brand is empowering. My brand is educational. My brand can sometimes be very dramatic, from acting to singing, but it's what I do. So now I keep everything clean because the type of clients I want, they corporate.
Yeah.
They need music that's associated with them, that has the values that will communicate well with their clients. So I'm on my 4th renewal of a contract with BTC. I've worked through Scotiabank with you, but also independently. I worked with CIBC every year for their Walk for the Cure because the message is hopeful, it is entertaining, it is energetic, but it's educational. I have a lot of other campaigns that I'm getting ready to work on. And so for any other artist, regardless of what your genre is, visual, spoken, think about who you would like to tap into. There are liquor brands that I won't be able to work with because their brands do not. I want to be at home making coffee, using an espresso machine, and then I might make a cocktail. So depending on what it is, a beer brand may not be in alignment with me currently. It used to be.
Right.
But it's not. So a little whiskey here, a little bourbon, a little scotch, a little nice, neat, or maybe on the rocks. Yeah, a little sophisticated girl kind of action. It says, we're going to wind down. We're going to network. We're going to have a good time. We're on grown folks' time.
Yeah.
But notice how I said that. Notice how everything in me changed. But now you want to have a scotch. Maybe. So I think that we really need to give attention to who we are serving with the art that we create. And then don't also be afraid to create art that's specifically for you. But if you're looking at the brand that you've developed, every piece of art doesn't need to go out to the public. It ain't for everybody. Sometimes you got to create it just for you and keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
Okay? Maybe it's not the season or the time to release it. But if it's intentional, if you intend to land clients A, B, and C in these 3 specific areas, you have to have a plan to get there.
And, I love that. And I can say, in watching you is one thing, but working with you is something else. And I think it's been an experience because you are a true professional. And professionalism is something that I find is lacking across industries, not just the creative industry. But when I say you're a professional, you show up when you say you're going to show up. You do what you say you're going to do. You send the invoices that need to be sent. And it's always been a pleasure, but I have never had a fear or concern of putting your name forward because I know that you're a professional.
Thank you. Thank you, Ethan. That's something that I had to learn. And there are times when I have to say to people, hey, did I come across a little bit too, I can be assertive. I went to say aggressive. I could be very assertive. And there's a reason for that. Because there are some times when you step into places and people assume that because you are branded as kind and considerate and nice and bubbly, they can talk to you or handle you any kind of way.
Yeah.
So I had to learn to be very assertive. And sometimes it changes people's impression of me until I deliver what they've asked for. And then they say, okay. And, everything doesn't always go smoothly. I could tell you an anecdotal story a little bit later. But professionalism is something that I value. I value it highly, because communicating consistently with the client, communicating with the conduit, which I consider you to be, is also very important, because I know you're not going to put me forward for anything that is not going to be in alignment with whatever it is that I have set for me, because it's very clear. You've studied my socials, but you know me personally, and we have conversations about what should be done. You have a lot of people that want to work in professional spaces. They want to be creatives, but they're unprofessional. But also, they don't want to intern, or they don't want to be mentored, because they automatically assumed, and I think it's part of the conditioning with some of the creators of yesteryear, they don't want to be taken advantage of, where I collect a fee, which I've never done. I've collected a fee for referring you to somebody. I'm not your talent agent. You don't owe me. You don't owe me any money for whatever it is that I refer you to and you book. But in the past, people have done that, and they have exploited young creatives to the point where they don't trust creators to mentor them. And then you have some people that don't have any ethics, they don't have any morals, which is the reason why a lot of people have non-competes. Right. So let's say you bring in somebody and you begin to mentor and train them. And let's say you don't have a non-compete. So now they have access to your clients and they go behind your back and they try to work along with your clients using the relationship that you have with them. But their client has a different experience.
Yeah.
And it's because they've not finished the training, but that was never their intention. And so what ends up happening is, with the deficit and people that are willing to work and willing to learn, it creates a space where some people complain, oh, the same people get the same, they always get news. Yeah, because other people are not availing themselves of the opportunity to be trained. I have never once had somebody reach out to me and ask me, hey, can you provide me some direction or insight? And I say, okay, well, no problem. I'm busy now, but in the interim, send me this, and this. And then I'll provide you feedback, right?
Yeah.
I've never once turned anybody down for that. Yeah. Sometimes people don't even send the information.
Yeah.
If you can't answer me when I say send this, but even if it takes me 2 months to get back to you, when I go back and I look at it to provide feedback, you haven't sent it, you ain't serious?
You ain't serious, yeah.
You ain't serious. Because if I have to charge you a consultancy fee, then you would pay that. Would you pay it? Yes, you will. But you ain't going to want to pay it because you believe that what people have learned should be free. Yeah. And I'm offering it to you because you asked. But you're not doing your part. So now you wonder why the same people are seeing all of these different places. That's the reason why. I want to be trustworthy, but I also want to create more people that people can trust to align their brands with.
Yeah. No, I it's funny because, people, I mean, it's similar, right? Like, you'll have people reach out and be like, hey, Ethan, I see you doing this, that, and next, and I want to know. And I'd be like, all right, well, bop, 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 bop. And then they just disappear. And, so I totally get it. I want to kind of, not really switch gears, but, I'm interested in knowing, because I'm sure as a creative, like, even as an entrepreneur, I do consider myself a creative now, by the way.
I'm very happy for you. Yes.
But I know I have a lot of ideas. Like, I have no shortage of ideas. And for me, my ideation process is when I have something, I call it vomiting on the paper. Like, literally, I just get it out.
You brainstorm
and I just open up a Google Doc and blah, 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 right? And so sometimes if it's something that I'm super interested in, I may take it a little bit further and do an actual PDF or a deck or something like that. And I don't really do anything much with that unless it's something that I want to move forward with, right? The question is that how do you determine which ideas you actually execute on? Because like I said, I'm sure you get lots of ideas. And in addition to making sure, and we're operating on the assumption rather, that it is something that's in alignment in some way, shape, or form with your purpose. But how do you determine, or what is your process for determining, all right, this is something that I'm going to execute on?
So you have a Google Doc. I pull out all of the markers, all of the pens, all of the other little things, and I sit on the floor like a child, and I just brain dump. My brain is like this all of the time. I have an assistant now. Please clap for me. Yes. My assistant says, yeah, so your brain is like a circus where everything is just happening all at once. And so you will start something and then move on to the next thing, and the other thing is still spinning. And then you'll come back to that and turn it while it's still moving. So I have developed a system where I just dump it on a physical piece of paper because I just love the feel of it, right? And then I say, okay, these were the goals. What's in alignment? What do I have now? What do I have access to now? Okay, so how can I turn this into something that is in alignment with all of these things? Who do I need to reach? So how close is that? What do I need to do to make this closer? And then I kind of envision how they're supposed to go. And I say, oh, okay, cool. And then I spend nights just deep diving into things that I find interesting. And then I go through a whole ideation process, which is step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Okay, so what can I do while these things are there? And as soon as one thing stalls, then I move on to something else to allow whatever's being stalled to pick up momentum again. And so sometimes it looks like I'm doing 500 million things, and that's only what you can see in the foreground, but they all end up falling in alignment. In project management, you have to be able, I treat myself like a project, by the way. So you have to be able to see where all the moving parts are. Part of the budgeting process is looking at the resources that are available and then allocating them, and then determining just how, in the sway of things, when I move this little, I can't remember what it's called, but the little thing in physics where you move the little ball and it hits the other 4. And
I know what you're talking about. I don't know what it's called either.
I know they can put it on the screen, but they know, you know what it is.
Tyler could put it on the screen.
So the kinetic energy, the potential energy from one thing ends up transitioning or transforming into kinetic energy for the other things. And then when I see that the momentum is now starting to slow down, I start the ideation process for something else that's in alignment with those to keep them moving. I know that was not as clear, but that's as clear as you're going to get it from me.
No, I get it. Like I get it, because even to that, so my whole thing is, I don't do one thing just to do one thing.
Yeah, no. Waste of resources.
Right. And so if I'm doing something, how can I, so case in point, even with this podcast, right? Like it was one of those things where, one is an opportunity for me to flex my creative muscles because I actually get to sit down and have awesome conversations with people that I actually like and admire. And then 2, I'm in the media space. Podcasting is something that we've been getting a lot of requests for. So it also serves as a showcase for the capacity and ability and the quality of work that my team and I can do.
It's a concept.
Yeah.
Proof of concept.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
what it is.
Proof of concept.
But it's also an opportunity for you to try new software, train.
Yeah.
Anybody that needs to be trained.
Yeah.
And then also keep your relationships with your networks very fresh. So all of those things all at once. And I agree with you. I do not do things for the sake of just doing things. Unless, of course, it's something that I'm doing just for fun.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I have an inspiration for a reel or something that I'm like, okay, can we just do something just for the sake of doing it? Does it have to turn into something else? And I'm like, no, nothing needs to be wasted.
I didn't think we wired like that.
I'm very much no, I'm not. Even my outfit today, I'm a coconut.
Coconut garden.
This is a coconut.
Yeah.
Coconut leaves.
Okay.
Coconut water.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coconut bark. Coconut leaves. A little coconut soil here. Coconut.
I love it.
And then crabs eat coconut. Fatten them up. So.
I love it. Speaking about fattening up.
Oh, God.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Bodine Pot.
Uh-huh.
Because I must say that I literally, I can't remember. I think it was maybe during the pandemic that I discovered Bodine Pot. Anyway, when I discovered it, I know what it was. I was looking for a stew conch recipe.
You're welcome.
I was looking for a stew conch recipe. And but it wasn't something that I knew you to do. And when I found it, I was like, hold on, wait, like she been doing this, right? Why was that even a thing?
So Bodine Pot started during the pandemic. Well, actually, it started a year before the pandemic. I had Stephen Hanna. I said I want to make an okra soup, right? And so I had Stephen Hanna. He came to my apartment at the time, and we shot it in my apartment. He shot it for me. And then I decided I wanted to do more. Believe it or not, when Ferreno and I had a show called Caribbean Flavor, we did a spot that aired on ZNS for years and years where I baked a carrot cake in his mom's kitchen at that time. And then when we did Fabulous Living Bahamian Style, they had me pretending like I didn't know how to cook because we had chefs there.
Right,
and so I was helping the chefs, and I was like, y'all, I'm the oldest of 7 kids. What you mean I don't know how to cook? And so by the time 2019 came around, before the pandemic, with Shinwin or Stephen Hanna, he was there, and it's us as friends or whatever. And he shot it for me, and then he edited it, and it was humorous. And I said, you know what, I like that. And so the world shut down, and I didn't know how to bake bread. I saw my mommy do it a lot, but I didn't know how to bake bread. So I was on Facebook looking through people walking themselves through the process, but there was no videos. And I was like, oh, okay, so I'm a teacher, so I'm going to teach myself how to make bread. It turned into a video diary of Bahamian culture while being a how to create this. But what made me stand apart from people that are creating content just for Instagram, just for Facebook, or just for TikTok is I didn't care to condense it to a 30-second clip or 1-minute clip. Part of the charm of Bodine Pot, and thanks for saying it correctly because it is Bahamian dialect, no spaces, is being able to teach people throughout the diaspora, whether they live here or any other part of the world, how to create Bahamian recipes step by step. And so even now, it's still earning me money on YouTube because people are still watching as horrible now as those videos are. Because when I started during the pandemic, I shot them on my S10 Plus. I didn't even have a light, didn't have a lamp with a daylight bulb. And then I got a light, and then I got a camera, and then I got better software. I wasn't editing them on my phone anymore. And more sponsors started to, we have these products, we would like for you to advertise them. It gave them so much bang for their buck because I can guarantee you if some of those companies were still here, people would still be purchasing from them now. I created, just like Melda 242, who did the same or similar. I created a show that I owned the IP for, that companies were able to invest in, that they were able to promote their products through, that was in alignment with somebody that has not only a good face, but they are capable and communicates well, that was culturally relevant for a fraction of the price in my 1-bedroom apartment that didn't even have a kitchen, which is pretty much similar to the experiences of a lot of people living in small spaces that feel that they cannot create authentic Bahamian food because they don't have the skills and they didn't have Grammy, mommy, uncle, or auntie, or granddaddy to teach them how to do it. And so, little titter, little Bodine Pot, I'm very proud of it.
No, I love it. And it was dope. For me, that really is the embodiment of what we started this conversation with, right? You were literally able to combine education, culture, entertainment, because it's very entertaining.
Absolutely.
And all of these different elements, that was all in alignment with your purpose. So
absolutely. So when we think about purpose and the way that our lives are charted, there are going to be seasons when it can't be about the money. It has to be about the impact. It has to be about the people. It has to be about the connections. And I will always, as far as possible, try to be the person that makes connections for people that would like to be empowered through the creative arts.
Awesome. Well, then, thank you so much for your time. spending time with me today. If people want to, just follow you, reach out to you, social, just let the people know how they could find you and where they could find you.
I am thankful that you have me here. Thank you so much. I am Bodine Victoria, no spaces. Across all social media platforms. It's the first thing I do every time a new social media platform is created.
Yeah.
I snag Bodine Victoria, no spaces. That is a trademark. It's my trademark.
Wow.
Specifically for that purpose. And then bodinevictoria.com if you would like to get biographical information on me. You're working on projects. It's there. I need to update it because a lot more has been added to my portfolio, but biographically, it's there. So type in Bodine Victoria, no spaces, and you'll find me.
Awesome. And folks, there you have it. We just wrapped up this amazing conversation with the one, the only coconut goddess. The your letter D.
The
coconut goddess, Bodine Victoria. Some key takeaways that I got was make sure that there's intentionality behind your purpose. You can do and be more than one thing. You're not just one thing. Whatever it is that you do, you want to make sure that there's intentionality behind it. If you're creative, be professional, get your business in order, and have fun doing what it is that you enjoy doing. All right? And so until next time, guys, remember, get uncomfortable and do the work because the world needs your greatness. Peace.